Hey, Inspired Moneymaker. What do proper body mechanics, 1.1 million Instagram followers, and building an online business have in common? Stick around to find out. Episode 244 features Katie Kasten-Wasilisin, fitness model, trainer, chief marketing officer.
So our focus is on those individuals who, again, are super fans of our content, but also have aches and pains. One thing that I know for sure, and we'll see what happens, but expecting that recession to hit any day now, we know that pain is a little bit more recession-proof than, let's say, just wanting to look really good. So we've been focused on how we can help people in pain and how we can help those individuals realize that they don't have to go and spend, thousands to tens of thousands of dollars on the doctor.
I'm Andy Wong, host of the Inspired Money podcast, where we share positive perspectives on money so we can have a bigger impact in our community and the world. This episode is brought to you by my company, Runnymede Capital Management. If you need help with financial planning, your investments, or setting up a 401k retirement plan for your business, schedule a call with me at inspiredmoney.fm/call. That's inspiredmoney.fm/CALL. We're fee-only, family-owned, and provide objective advice. Schedule a no-obligation call today. We're talking with Katie, Chief Marketing Officer and HBIC at MoveU. You're going to find out what HBIC stands for too. Katie and her husband, Dr. Mike Wasilisin, say that learning your own body alignment is the key to solving chronic pain. They can help you to uncover the root cause of your pain and resolve it with interactive, educational, and entertaining online programs. Viral videos and courses focused on low back and core, hips, and pelvic floor have been favorable among celebrity clientele like Mark Consuelos, Nicole Robertson, Antonio Brown, and Mario Lopez. Trevor Noah, Kelly Slater, Joe Rogan, and Gwyneth Paltrow follow the MoveU Instagram account for daily tips and tricks. In this episode, you'll learn about going from traditional chiropractic office to online business, how to monetize social media followers, and make sure you tune into the end to see Katie demonstrate an exercise that helps to alleviate her sciatica caused by scoliosis. Now let's get inspired with Katie Kasten-Wasilisin. Katie, welcome to Inspired Money. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Let's jump right in. What's your earliest childhood memory of money?
Gosh, I've thought about this question so much. And that's because I really feel that my earliest childhood memory is such a scarcity mindset. I remember being very, very young, around 6 years old, and my mom was actually packing my siblings and I away in a car because my parents were in so much financial debt. I think over $400,000 at the time. And my mom was so fearful that we were going to lose everything that she was actually threatening to take us away from my dad at the time because he had unfortunately partnered with somebody who had left him in that much debt. My parents are entrepreneurs. My father had unfortunately partnered with somebody that I'm sure, as you know, being in finance, sometimes those partnerships don't really work out very well. And so that is truly my earliest memory, is just this kind of scarcity mindset, being really fearful that we were going to lose everything. And it's not a happy memory by any stretch of the imagination, but it's something that I think set the tone for the rest of my life. And in that, I knew I never wanted to be in that place again where money was scary to me because I learned it at such a young age. And then other than that, my parents, we grew up being very financially stingy and mindful of our money. But stingy is probably a better word because it wasn't necessarily mindfulness. It was more like, okay, well, that shampoo is 30 cents more than this other shampoo. So let's make sure that we do the, lesser shampoo cost, and it was just little things like that that set me up for now, I believe, success, because I'm like, again, I don't ever want to be in that scarcity mindset, and I really want to utilize money as a tool. So, yeah, kind of a sad start, but it's good now. It's definitely good now.
Frugality always sounds better than stingy. Uh,
Yes.
growing up
Yes.
in that like entrepreneurial family, was it boom and bust? Like boom or bust going through cycles?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I remember when being very young, it was definitely a bust. So my father is an engineer, and he actually invented a water purifying machine, which actually, last time I checked, sells in Costco now. But it was not selling in Costco when we were young. And so he moved to Arizona to with his business partner to, pitch this new invention, and it was just a complete flop. I mean, his business partner did not, say or do any of the things that he promised. And unfortunately, it just ended up fizzling out. So my father decided to take, I believe, a business loan from my grandfather and get into what is our family's business and has been our family's business for now 3 generations, of hot tubs. So my parents, on a whim, they opened a hot tub store in Arizona, which seems kind of counterintuitive because obviously it's Arizona and they're, opening a hot tub store. So they went ahead, opened this hot tub store, and ever since then, it's really steadily grown. 2008 happened. My parents almost lost the business. And now, I know we were just speaking right before this. Now it's a multi-million-dollar hot tub business in the state of Arizona, and it is the largest uh, hot tub store in the state. And it is also one of the nicest facilities. You walk into this particular hot tub store, and it looks like the Mercedes of hot tub stores. It's beautiful, and they've done very well for themselves. So, yeah, I've absolutely seen it go boom. And I've definitely experienced the busts. But, it's cool to watch them now be successful and, have 3 generations in this business of being able to support my family. It's really awesome.
That's really cool. Interestingly, you did end up going down an entrepreneurial path. You didn't shy away from that boom and bust and become an accountant or something.
Yeah. Hmm. Definitely. I mean, I wanted to. I think because of the and I loved your word, the frugality mindset that I had established when I was so young. I really wanted to go into something a little bit safer. And so when I graduated college, I found myself in that 9 to 5 grind at a couple of different marketing agencies and marketing opportunities. And I ended up contracting out a lot of my work on the side. So I was doing a lot of side hustles. I worked with, he's a famous pastry chef. His name is Chef Jean Philippe. And I would do just social media management for him, website management and design on the side, while I also did my 9 to 5 grind because I liked the security. Like every entrepreneur, I feel like can relate to this. You love the security of this paycheck, but you're really like combusting at the seams. You want to do something that's a little bit unique and different, and you're just waiting for the opportunity and also the mindset shift to get yourself out of the 9 to 5 and actually pursue your dream. And so that was me. I actually had that 9 to 5 job, was grinding it out, saving money, contracting my work on the side until I couldn't take it anymore. I just quit and pursued full-time entrepreneurship, and it's been like that ever since.
Was that a scary point? And did you have to wait for like a certain level where you felt like you could make that leap safely?
Yeah, yeah, great question. So I'll never forget the day I had been working at this marketing agency. And when I mean working. I was working 60 hours a week. I remember I had some of the biggest clients at the agency, and I was doing very well. And I had been there about 2 years. And I was only making, and mind you, I live in San Diego, and I'm very open about money, by the way. So we can always just chat numbers. but I was only making like $45,000 a year and just busting my butt to be, a good employee. And, I had the stable health insurance and all of that. And I remember being like, okay, this is realistically, a $60,000 at least job. And they brought me in and they were like, Katie, it's your 2-year mark. You're doing so well, and we want to give you a raise. And I was like, wow, a raise. This is amazing. And they're going to, give me a step up in the business instead of being an account manager, get me to the next level of management. So uh, I remember them being like, da da da, drum roll, we're going to give you $50,000. And I respectfully just sat down, took a big breath, and I was like, thank you guys so much for the opportunity, but I'm actually going to be putting in my 2 weeks. And so I literally quit the moment that they gave me the raise because I was like, this is not in alignment with my self-worth, right? I was really busting it at 60 hours a week and really seeing no return. And so it was kind of betting on myself in that moment. And hilariously, they turned around and they gave me a contractual deal for way more money a month as an independent contractor than what I was making as a salaried employee. And then in that same month, I actually turned around and made my one of my biggest months as a contractor to date. I think I netted like $15,000 marketing my own consulting services. So I started consulting for other companies and other just small businesses and advising them on their marketing. And it was just one of those moments that, you can call it serendipitous or what have you. But that was the moment I was like, okay, I am not making any money here. And I bet you if I just put in a little bit more effort into myself, I'd be making more and then also just feeding my soul, which is that creative portion of me. So, yeah, I hope that answers that question, but that's where I was at.
No, it's amazing how they kind of forced your hand, but to your credit, you knew your worth and you were able to take a stand and say, that's not acceptable. I'm gonna I'm gonna leave.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things too where a lot of people don't talk about their salaries and they don't talk about how much money they're making. And that is something that now being they call me, I don't think you can cuss on this podcast, so I'm not going to cuss.
We do sometimes, but I try not to.
So, okay, got you. So my team at MoveU, which is my husband and I's company, um, they now call me HBIC, which stands for Head BITCH in charge, because it's truly my role is I don't love the role of CEO, and I think I'm more of a CMO. Uh, but now that's translated to them. I mean, I'm very salary transparent with my team. I'm very money transparent with them as well, just because I want everybody to know that there is room for growth. And I believe that transparency in running, especially a small business that's now making, several million dollars, I think it's key in growth. I think that there shouldn't be any weirdness about how much you're making or how much money you could make or how much money the company is making. Um, so yeah, that's that's my story about how I became an entrepreneur.
Katie, how did you meet your husband, Dr. Mike
Great
Wasilisin?
question. Yes, yeah. Such a good question because it's one of my favorite ones to answer. So I teach yoga. I've taught yoga for years, and that was one of my mini side hustles when I was making money, and just it also gives me so much joy. So I was teaching at a yoga studio, and I was welcoming all my students into the class. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just remember this giant, because Dr. Mike is 6'4", this giant man slam his hands on my desk. And he was like, who are you? You have the best energy. You have such great positivity. I need to know who you are. And I was shocked. I was definitely taken back because I'm like, who is this man I've never met before? And he explained to me after the class, he's like, I'm Dr. Mike Wasilisin. I have this online business, and I've been looking for a female counterpart to join me. And interestingly enough, I remember being I remember definitely being like, romantically attracted to him right away, but shying away from it because he was too crazy for me. I think he was just like too out of control. I was like, this is a lot of energy. I got to kind of back away from it. Um, but I also didn't have Instagram, and MoveU was Instagram based at the time. And so I remember him telling me that he had this great internet company. And I remember being like, yeah, sure. You have a great internet company, whatever that means. Like, there's a lot of different paths that could take. But yeah, we stayed in contact for several months. He asked me to come in and film some videos with him, and I did. And during that time, he got a FaceTime call from, somebody. I didn't quite know who it was. And uh, he shows me the FaceTime. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I recognize this person, but I'm not quite sure who that is. And he's like, oh, this is my friend. This is Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown at the time had just left the Pittsburgh Steelers as their wide receiver. And Antonio Brown had actually invited me at that moment. He goes, oh, I need to do yoga. Why don't you come up to Oakland and train me? And I was like, okay, this is a whirlwind. I have to go and do that. So, how many people have the opportunity to train one of the best wide receivers at that time in the NFL? And so I did. I went up
Is he
to
good at yoga?
Oakland. You know what? He's very good at yoga. And there's something that we could all learn from AB and people like him. I mean, he turns on this switch, Andy, that it's like he is just so incredibly focused. I mean, it is truly game time when he is training. Now, getting him to focus and getting him to, um, want to train is definitely a little difficult. There's lots of distractions. But when he's training, I mean, he's a superstar. So, Mike and I, one of our first endeavors together was training AB, and it was amazing. It was so cool. And then kind of the rest of our relationship is history in the sense of we started working really well together and also started falling for each other, and then we were married less than a year and a half later. So that's how I met Dr. Mike. That's how it all started. And yeah, it's been a whirlwind of the last like 4 years now.
It sounds like a whirlwind that started with a business proposition. Like,
Exactly. And also my parents worked together, and I swore up, down, backwards, sideways, all the ways that I would never work with my partner. I remember being like, I will never, ever work with the person that I'm married with. And now here I am today. My business partner is my husband. And yeah, that's been very difficult, but we have definitely found our ebb and flow. It took us about 2 years working together for us to feel and respect each other's, spaces within the business. But yeah, it's definitely been a business proposition and a marriage all wrapped up into one.
give everybody a little bit of context because Dr. Mike is a chiropractor by training. I think that he spent a number of years building a traditional chiropractor's practice, but he's also a guy that Jerry Seinfeld called funny and clever.
Yes. Well, Jerry Seinfeld is right. He is very funny and he's very clever, and he's always been a goofball ever since, I don't know, he'll tell you when he was even really, really young. Our last name is Wasilisin. A lot of people used to call him wasn't listening. Like that was his nickname back in high school. And he had a very hard time concentrating. So I'm gonna go way back because I love the story about him. He used to deliver pizzas when he was back in high school. And he lived in a very small town called Warren, Ohio. And he would deliver pizzas constantly to this man's house uh, that he looked up to, who supposedly had a lot of money in his mindset. Warren only has 5,000 people that live there, so it's not very many at all. And he would go to this house, and this guy would answer the door, who was completely shirtless and just his boxers, wearing cowboy boots. And he would always have beautiful women around him. And Mike's always like, "Hey, who is that? Like, what do you do?" And he learned that it was his local chiropractor. And he was like, "Well, that's cool. He's got a lot of money. He seems like he's got a very eccentric lifestyle. So I should maybe train underneath him." A week later, Mike gets fired from his pizza job, and he knocks on the chiropractor's door and says, "Hey, can I have a job?" And he said yes. So that was his mentor, who we actually lost 2 years ago, Dr. Mike Bell. And Dr. Bell took Mike underneath his wing and just trained him. And that was all Mike knew to be success, was that path of, okay, I guess I'm going to be a chiropractor. I guess I'm going to be a doctor, because he was initially very into the lifestyle that Dr. Bell had. And he became a chiropractor. He went to Palmer Chiropractic College, graduated, started making YouTube videos with his previous partner of the chiropractic clinic. It was called Kelly Spine. And those videos started to have some virality to them. And they were on the first wave of Instagram back in 2014, when the Instagram algorithm was really generous. They started just going viral. They had viral hit after viral hit. And yeah, ever since then, MoveU has been a thing. And back in 2016, Mike left his chiropractic clinic, Cali Spine, and said that he was going to go fully online, and he did so. So he sold that business, and then MoveU was created, and it's truly been a wild ride with that company, and it's been really fun to see it grow and change, especially as social media changes as well.
Before we get into online businesses, I want to ask you, what has your relationship been to yoga and exercise? Because I know that it's been something like you've always been active, you've been an athlete, but I think that it wasn't always a healthy relationship.
Yeah,
So what
great
has that kind of looked
question.
like along the way?
Yeah, I mean, so for myself personally, along this journey, and obviously, MoveU is a health lifestyle. You can call it fitness-esque company. I now have a really healthy relationship with my body and my activities. But yeah, growing up, just like my mindset on money, I didn't have necessarily a healthy relationship with my body or physical activity. And I really became quite focused on the way that my body looked, and wanting to feel thin or be skinny, or be probably a better term is being fearful that my body wasn't going to look a certain way. And I'm not even really sure what I wanted it to look like. I just knew that I was so fearful of how my body um, looked to me. Like even just like loose skin, and it actually ended up creating this. And we're jumping right into it, Andy. This very sick mindset on health and wellness that was actually not health or wellness based at all. It was controlling, and very much a eating disorder. That's how it manifested in my body. And so, unfortunately, in my late teens and early 20s, I would utilize fitness and food as a way to control my environment, because I kind of felt like things were out of control. I mean, I'm sure you can relate. In your early 20s, you're finding yourself. You're not sure who you are. And so that was me. I was just finding myself. I actually graduated college really early, graduated high school at 16, graduated college at 20. And so I was just not prepared for what the world was about to throw at me. And food and fitness was a way to control those things. It was just a way to control something. And so it became very, very, very it became an obsession for me to control the amount of food that I was intaking and the amount of energy that I was outputting. And it's taken me years to go through that. Lots of therapy, not gonna lie, lots of great therapy, which if you are listening to this and if that speaks to you, I highly advise, seeking help. Um, but now it's just such a cool opportunity to help others fall in love with their bodies. And I always try to tell people that, this is my job. Like fitness is my full time, 70 hours a week job. Our bodies are going to look different. Our lives are going to look different. And that's something that I hope to bleed into MoveU is helping people fall in love with their body as it is right now and know that they can make improvements, but it doesn't have to be this obsessive compulsive and unhealthy shift in mindset, that it can happen and integrate into your body in a very healthy way instead. So yeah.
Well, it's really good to hear that transformation and that it's okay to seek professional help. You don't
Oh,
have to do it
totally.
on your own.
Yeah, and I think also just speaking about it, I think it's far more common than a lot of, especially entrepreneurs. I mean, I feel that a lot of entrepreneurs suffer with a lot of depression and anxiety. I mean, I still have that today, and I have to work on it because, if you're working 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week, you're not leaving a whole lot of room to dedicate to building your mind to be sane. So, I mean, I think that it just speaking out loud and saying, "Hey, I have depression, I have anxiety. This is really hard for me." It helps a lot to be able to relate to other people and hear their stories. So, yeah, I can definitely say, I've suffered with an eating disorder. I've had depression. I still have major anxiety that I have to dedicate time to, just like my my job, just because if I don't work on myself, then I'm not my best self for the business and I'm not growing in any regard. So yeah, I definitely think it's really important to talk about mental health and be really open, seek therapy, and just share it with others.
How do you manage your anxiety today?
Great question. I mean, I think I would try to let my ego get the best of me prior and not even acknowledge that I was anxious. I'm one of those people that I have high functioning anxiety, meaning that I actually perform almost better sometimes when I am extremely anxious. I can get things done. I'm way more efficient. I'm definitely in my own world and in my own bubble. And it's taken me a lot of time to realize what anxiety feels like in my own body. Sometimes, if I'm being overly efficient, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm anxious. And I'm not realizing that I'm anxious right now because I'm pouring so much of my soul into my work. It's a way for me to cope and not go inside and realize, oh my gosh, I'm actually really anxious in this moment. And that's why I'm pouring myself into work, if that makes sense. So I have to take a few steps back and reassess and reevaluate my day. But sometimes several days go by. If I'm feeling extremely emotionally depleted, that's usually the number one indicator. Like if I'm not feeling supported, if I'm not feeling, connected with my husband, Dr. Mike, if I am not feeling, that the business is flowing like it should, if I feel anxious about the business, then I know that I need to take a step back. And it sounds very cliche and simple, and I know a lot of body biohackers talk about this, but I just do some very deep breaths. That is the number one thing that I will do to calm myself down in any given moment. Right now, I'm going through, a kind of a new family crisis, and I've been finding myself extremely anxious just because, my family is suffering right now with a medical issue, and it's really hard for me to be away from them. We're a state away, and I just have been finding myself breathing very deeply. And what happens is when you breathe deeply like that, you actually are telling your body you are okay. Your fight or flight response is able to calm down and tap into the parasympathetic nervous system. And it tells your body, hey, you are okay. So if you, anybody listening to this, if you are feeling anxious or even thinking that you're feeling anxious, then the best thing that you can do right away to help that anxiety is breathe. Big, deep breaths in through the nose and then big exhales out the mouth. So there's a million other things that I do to cope, but I think that that's the number one uh, actual physical activity that I have found gives me the most relief right away. Is that?
I love that. It takes that awareness, that self-awareness, so that you can know when to take those breaths. But that's great advice.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about online businesses and this world of followers and subscribers and how that doesn't necessarily indicate the success or revenues of a business.
Yes, absolutely. One of my favorite topics to talk about because I think that we live in a world now where everybody can be a celebrity and everybody can have huge amounts of following. However, having a business is all about, how can you garner success out of whatever audience you have. So for example, we have 1.1 million followers, almost 1.2 million. We're really close to that. So if you're listening and if you haven't heard of us, go and subscribe. But we're almost at 1.2 million on Instagram, and you'd be surprised how hard it is to make money on Instagram. I mean, it is, and on any social media platform. I'm in the space of influencers. So I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of amazing creative people. And I know people who have over 40 million TikTok followers and make almost no money off of TikTok. Whereas I know an individual who has 100,000 followers on Instagram and makes over $2 million a month on Instagram, or excuse me, I shouldn't say off of Instagram, but having that many followers from Instagram. And so I think it's all about understanding your efficiencies and not utilizing the amount of followers you have as success unless your mission is to provide some sort of free content to the world in hopes of getting your message across. So our mission at MoveU is to help people live better. To help people move better to live better. And so free content and putting our message out into the world in that manner is definitely lends itself to us creating free content. So I have no problem putting out tons of free content that is beneficial to the world because that bleeds into our mission. However, if your gauge of success is lots of money and lots of followers, then you need to set up efficiencies in your business to ensure that that is going to happen. I think a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to be an influencer and I'm going to have an online business and I'm going to gain, millions of followers. But that doesn't always equate to dollars. And something to think about as well is I personally believe that the influencer space and this era that has been gain tons of followers, make tons of money, I think that that's the trend is going to die quite soon. And so we at MoveU, we've been preparing ourselves for that. For example, if our Instagram goes down tomorrow, do we still have a business? It's a really important question to ask yourself because relying on a third party to ensure your success is really scary. It's really scary. And I highly don't recommend it because we've been there, we've done that. We've had days where Instagram has gone down and we make very little money on those days. Or we used to make very little money. We've set up different processes and procedures where now we don't have to just rely on Instagram. But yeah, it's a different world for sure, Andy. It's definitely interesting, to say the least.
As an entrepreneur, how do you strategize about monetization, like monetizing the following? Is that the difference between a TikTok account that has tens of millions of followers but isn't making much money, and somebody with 100,000 followers on Instagram who can make $2 million every month?
Yeah, great question. So, it's so interesting. In this space, there are so many paths that you can take. MoveU, we're pretty fortunate because obviously the primary face is Dr. Mike, and then I model, and then we have another educator. Her name is Dr. Brittany Ellers, and then we have another model. His name is Tyler Ruiz. So we kind of get to sit behind the brand that is MoveU. So actually, this last year, believe it or not, this last year, 2022, MoveU's been around for 6 years, since 2016. This is the first year that I decided for the company that we were going to start utilizing our Instagram audience to make money. So right now, I currently work with a couple of brands that actually help pay us, excuse me, they sponsor our posts every single month. So for example, we have a clothing brand sponsor. They pay us a certain monthly retainer to wear pretty much exclusively their clothing. And then we promote that clothing basically by wearing it, right? We just are wearing it and they're building brand awareness. The interesting thing about that particular agreement is that it's really hard to measure success, and it's really hard to measure KPIs or keep benchmarks on what success means. And you have to set up those standards right away. Okay, what does success look like to these brands? Because if success looks like sales to them, unfortunately for us, it's actually very hard to sell products through our channel. Not always. Like, for example, we have a shoe brand that does very, very well on our platform. But some devices have a very hard time selling through our channel, just because, I mean, how can you kind of measure that success of selling when our audience is so large? Like, how many people are seeing this product and thinking about it in their mind at a later point? It's them seeing a link and then following that hyperlink and then them using the code. The stats on that, the conversion is so slim. I mean, it goes down 0.02% every single time somebody has to click, right? It just completely filters out. So we have to set up our brand partnerships for success, but we also do have a membership model. So we have an entirely video-based program that we let our super fans subscribe to, who also are very interested in fixing their aches and pains. So I call them super fans because these are the people that have obviously seen our content, love what we do, and want to continue to support us. And they get something back out of that, right? They get a really amazing online membership where they can learn all about their bodies and then also see a little bit more about who we are. I do know people who monetize by having their own TV shows, or some of our friends have Snapchat. Yeah, Snapchat reality TV shows. I know people who have other brand deals. My only advisory with the brand deals is just know that when those brands are in a conference room figuring out budgets, if they're looking to cut, oftentimes influencers are the number one thing that they are cutting. And right now, across the board, businesses are cutting their influencer spend because they're not seeing as much return anymore, because it's become such a diluted market. I mean, everybody's an influencer. I mean, how many people do you know that have over 50,000 followers? It has to be a lot. I mean, a few years ago, not many, but now it's everybody. So
I'm hanging out in a different crowd. We're like, we have 50 followers.
Aw, no worries. No worries whatsoever. I can help you with your Instagram for sure, Andy.
So it sounds like
That's
you're
great.
implementing a lot of positive things at MoveU in the last year. You're thinking about multiple streams of income and diversifying. You made reference that you think that the influencer marketing landscape could be changing and becoming more competitive, more difficult. So you're trying to make adjustments so that you can navigate some of those changes. Talk a little bit about for MoveU, like what has the business look like prior to you working on it and now that you're there actively making changes and really being active?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say that MoveU has had three phases of the business. The first phase I wasn't a part of whatsoever. So I call that Dr. Mike's, hey, we're growing Gucci phase. Okay. He had a Gucci phase. He was really into Gucci and all of these designer brands. And I think that's because he um had so much success with MoveU and they had hit $1 million and they were growing and growing and growing. And then with COVID, they actually exploded. I mean, it was, people didn't think that they could get PT anymore or go to their chiropractor. So the company did very well when the pandemic first started. And Mike had a previous business partner, and I'm sure you've heard the story a million times, but sometimes those things just don't work out. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for the two of them. And once that happened, because MoveU is a public facing business, the whole company started to do very, very poorly. And the expenses were so matched with the amount of revenue that the company was bringing in that the company started losing. And I'm not kidding you, hundreds of thousands of dollars within several months. It was a very scary time because it was like, oh my gosh, are we going to lose MoveU? And so I had to flex every marketing muscle I had, and we were able to launch a new product. We launched a back and core program, and we also launched a monthly membership model right around the time of Black Friday that helped sustain the business through that really tough period of time. And then phase two of the business is I was like, well, I don't know that Mike and I working together is the best thing for our marriage. We were newly married at that time. And so we decided to bring on an individual who has raised a bunch of capital. He's had several very large exits for businesses that he's been a part of. And we hired that individual as our interim CMO, CEO. And this individual really understood the business of let's raise a lot of capital and let's spend a lot of money to make a lot of money. But at the time, MoveU didn't have a lot of money to spend, if that makes sense. We were kind of weathering the storm of that phase one portion. So phase two, I stepped into the business and realized, oh gosh, this phase two isn't working either. And so last November, or actually last September, so of 2021, Mike and I had a sit down conversation and we were like, hey, if we're going to work together, we need to put our marriage first and foremost. We've done that ever since. And we've been growing faster than we have grown in the last 2 years for MoveU, and had our biggest sales days to date last year by implementing some new strategies. One thing that we do right now to ensure that our streams are flowing and that they're successful is I've been putting a lot of effort into upping our technology. So our current membership is hosted on a current learning platform. We're moving platforms within the coming months. So we will be moving to a app based on your iPhone and Android device program. Right now, we don't have that. It's more protection for our customers, and it's just an easier way for people to access our content, which I'm assuming that they're going to love, considering that they're currently accessing us on Instagram. Gosh, what else are we doing? We are upping our level of SEO on our website because it's something that, we own and something that's less volatile than Instagram or TikTok or YouTube even. YouTube's actually probably the most sustainable of the platforms, just because it's Google. So we've been spending a lot of time investing in things that will help us for the long term to kind of weather the storm that I think is coming, which I know I've mentioned. I truly do believe that us as consumers, we're getting massively overwhelmed with the amount of content coming in. So when that is happening and our attention spans are shortening, you need a way to stand out in the crowd of amazing creators. I mean, there are so many incredible creators. You have Knees Over Toes guy, who's great. You have Doc Gen Fit. You have prehab guys who are all kind of in the same space. Kelly Starrett, all of these incredible creators. It's like, how are you supposed to compete against the best of the best of the best of the best? And rather than seeing it as competition, I think that people need to be like, okay, well, there's just endless amounts of great content. So it's taking what you have and making it sustainable for the long term, like investing in things that aren't just going to shut down overnight. I'm sure you remember the Instagram shutdown last year. Yes, that was definitely a hard day for us. I'll tell you right now, that was very difficult. So, I don't even really remember what your original question is or was. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent, but I think I kind of answered some of that.
No, it's great. It sounds like, I mean, it's very much an entrepreneur's journey. You're experimenting, you're trying to make turns and adjustments and pivots to capitalize and optimize for the current environment and the future. But it's not always easy. It sounds like there are challenges that keep you up at night.
Yeah, I mean there definitely are. I mean, and that just makes the success and the wins so much sweeter. And I think that that is really an entrepreneur's dream, is to have these great wins. And for myself, we built an amazing team. We actually took our entire team. We have roughly 10 people on the team to Costa Rica on an all expenses paid trip this past May. And it was just such an incredible moment. We've come so far. We're profitable this year. We're making money. We're growing. We're making ourselves a little bit more sustainable. But I definitely remember a time, Andy, that I was so envious of other companies and what they had. And this isn't even that long ago, like let's say 2 years ago. I remember meeting a company that did primarily all of its revenue off of Facebook. So they were making roughly $5 million a year with 5 employees, and absolutely just killing it with Facebook ads. They would, I think they would put in like $100,000 in Facebook ads a year, and then they'd get back roughly 500,000, excuse me, yeah, roughly $500,000 a month.
Yeah. So 5x their investment, 5x what they were putting in.
And I was like, we are not at that at all. And I remember being so envious. And 6 months ago, I got the news that their company is shutting down. And that's because Facebook changed all of its policies. iOS 14 updated and it absolutely killed everybody's return on ad spend. And they went out of business. And that happened in 6 months. I thought that they were doing amazing and then they were going to be the next big thing. And then all of a sudden it just imploded. And that taught me, I'm like, okay, I mean, you can have an explosive business that's making a ton of money, but are you building sustainability? And that's what I've been focused on. I'm like, this is our family business. So I need to make sure that this is sustainable for generations to come. So hopefully, instead of having hot tubs in the business, we can have a MoveU generational wealth occur. Just because I'm not dead set on going back to the hot tub business anytime soon.
Well, there are a couple of things that I love about both businesses. With the hot tubs, similar to swimming pools, once you own one, you have to put the chemicals in. Otherwise, your water is going to turn green, and nobody wants a green algae-filled pool. What I love about your business is that I think Dr. Mike saw that the healthcare system had its issues. It's imperfect. And MoveU, teaching people how to move, teaching people how to heal themselves and not necessarily go under the knife to have surgery, that there are better ways. So I love that part about your business and the fact that with the membership, there should be a recurring revenue stream. It's like a subscription, which tends to be, it gives you more stability for your business. As content creators and entrepreneurs, how do you decide like how much to give away for free and then when you can charge?
Yeah, we we are definitely always looking to create engaging content. So I will say that that is a goal. I mean, the higher the engagement, the higher the website traffic we get, the more sales that we get. So it is an equation for sure. However, we do have a percentage. We try to kind of do the 70-30 route. Um, and I do that in the back of my mind all the time. 70% of our content's just going to be, free and fun and help us expand our mission, where 30% of our content is going to have an actual call to action. So I have to remind Dr. Mike all the time, hey, babe, in that video, that was great, but remember, mention that we have a back and core program. So at the very end of the video, make sure that you say you can find more in our back and core program. That's something that we started implementing, and we've seen really, really, really good results out of him actually directly doing a CTA, a call to action. And same thing on our stories or just our social media strategy in general. We really try to do okay, we're trying to not devalue or, trying not to always convert our audience because most of our audience isn't going to convert. They're just there for the free content. I mean, it's really hard to convert somebody when they're already getting so much value for free right here. So our focus is on those individuals who, again, are super fans of our content, but also have aches and pains. One thing that I know for sure, and we'll see what happens, but expecting that recession to hit any day now, we know that pain is a little bit more recession proof than, let's say, just wanting to look really good. So we've been focused on how we can help people in pain and how we can help those individuals realize that they don't have to go and spend, you know, thousands to tens of thousands of dollars on the doctor. We actually did some research several years ago, and we realized that the average mover, which is what we call our members in our membership, spends around $10,000 on doctors and on PT and on chiro before they come to our membership. So they're kind of, at that last step, they're like, oh my gosh, I've tried everything. What do I have to lose? And the cool thing about MoveU is you have nothing to lose. I mean, it's just you and your body. That's all you need is you and your body. And Dr. Mike will teach you utilizing the anatomy art. I'm sure you've seen that we have an actual artist paint the anatomy art, the muscles on the body. He'll teach you with the anatomy art and with the models that we have and with his crazy props, sometimes blow torches, sometimes arrows. Who knows what he comes up with? He'll teach you how to properly align your body utilizing your own muscles. And we believe that alignment in the body is the strongest position. So, for example, I have scoliosis. I have been able to align my spine as much as I possibly can to help alleviate the sciatica that I have that often occurs in my right leg. I don't feel that at all anymore. It's amazing. Like, I don't feel that at all. And that's all through things that Dr. Mike has taught me. And that's all things that we teach in our membership.
It seems that the core principle here is that people can strengthen their bodies into alignment. And that's the key to living without chronic pain.
Absolutely. I mean, that is definitely our belief. And I'm a firm believer of, as cheesy as it sounds, of living your life in alignment, period. I mean, alignment with your values, your morals, but also your body. I mean, your body is this vessel for you to experience the world. So if you're experiencing chronic pain each and every day, or maybe not even pain, but just things that bother you. I have a lot of people that are not in pain that do MoveU. We have a lot of people that are just like, I want to improve my sport or my level of athleticism. I think that whatever the goal is, allowing yourself to understand that you already sitting here today, you have every tool in your toolbox to help alleviate your pain, help improve your level of athleticism, and all it takes is the knowledge to do so. I think that that's amazing. And rather than thinking, oh, I need this device and I need, a personal trainer, you actually don't need any of those things. In fact, if you just followed some people on Instagram, you could probably get enough value there. But for those people who need a little bit more nurturing, absolutely, our membership is definitely a good segue for people to learn. They don't have to spend a ton of money, and once they have the knowledge, the great thing is once you have the knowledge, Andy, you can't forget it. You know what I mean? Like it's there forever. Once you know, you can never not do. I forget who said that quote, but it's true. Um, so yeah, I mean, I definitely think that that is our mission is to again help people move better to live better, and living your life in alignment in all facets of life is how you can live and move better for sure.
With your scoliosis, is it a series of exercises or a series of movements? What does that look like from a general
Great.
sense?
Yeah, great question. Do you want me to show you, or I can describe it to the
Sure.
listeners? Okay, I'll get up. We're gonna do this. I'm sure that this might be a first on your podcast.
People will
Okay,
have to watch
so
YouTube.
yeah, no, that's great. So I have 17 degrees of scoliosis that veers off to the left, and it often creates one leg longer than the other on my left leg. So what I need to do is your body can actually shift. We'll see. I always call this a hula. If you take like your hands to your hips, so if you're listening to this, you can do this as well, and you can broaden your base. What I want you to try to do is shift only your torso without tilting. So see how like my shoulders would drop a little bit lower? You want to keep your shoulders level, and you're going to shift your torso using your side obliques and your erector spinae. So your obliques are obviously your core muscles. They help rotate the spine and they help shift it from side to side. And your erectors are the muscles in the that run along the base of your, excuse me, the sides of your spine, and they also help do exactly those things. So I'm going to shift my torso from side to side. This is an exaggerated version of what my scoliosis looks like. It's an extreme shift to the left and an extreme tilt. It's not that extreme. I'm just exaggerating for this particular show. If you guys could see me, I literally look like Quasimodo. I look lopsided. So whenever I work out, I have to actually shift my torso over to the right. And if you look at my spine from the back, which you can't see today, you would actually see my spine further aligned towards midline. It's really cool. So every single time I squat, I shift, I tilt my right rib cage down. So it's minor. I have to shift, tilt it down, and that helps me align my scoliosis more. And I have less tension in my right quadratus lumborum. Uh, lumborum? I always forget my QL. That muscle always gets me. But that's this muscle in the back here, in the low back, because I'm able to understand that I am shifted and tilted over to the left. That means I need to shift and tilt over to the right to help align my spine and give me more stability in my muscles and in my joints so that I can do the things I love without any pain. And it is significantly helped. So we at MoveU teach you how to do that. I mean, it's exactly the position that you are living life in that hurts you. So you're at your desk a lot, I'm assuming. If you're here and rounded in your spine, then you need to extend in your spine to get out of that position and to get out of pain. So yeah, that's what we teach people. I hope that made sense, and I hope that makes sense to your listeners.
Thank you for the demonstration. I'm going to be
Oh,
spending some
great.
time at the MoveU Instagram account
Yes.
because in preparation for this interview, or maybe it was moving boxes, my lower back is killing me.
Oh no. Yes. Well, if your low back is killing you, I can already tell you just hearing that the most likely exercise that you need, and your listeners listening, low back pain is the number one cause of disability in the world. Did you know that? It's crazy. So If that is you, and if you feel low back pain, most people spend their life in anterior tilts. That's when your tailbone reaches more to the back of your head. We call that Instagram booty, when your booty pops out and it looks nice for the Instagram. We've all seen it. If that is you, then engage your glutes. So actually, like somebody is trying to poke you in the crack, and draw your pelvis, your pubic bone up to your face. And you should feel a stretch in the low back. You might be trying it now. You might sink down a little bit. But that should give you some
I'm going
back
to save it for
back relief.
later.
Great. No, yeah. You don't want to show your audience. I feel like they would like to see that of you, Andy. But yeah, send me a video of you doing it later for sure.
Okay, a series of firsts here on Inspired Money.
I
So
love it.
I like
Great.
to ask all the Inspired Money guests, how do you define success?
Oh man, yeah. I thought about this a lot too over the past couple of days. I define success as being able to live a life of freedom where I am not bound to one spot. I really love to travel and I love to have new experiences, and also being able to provide for my family. And I also include I don't even really call them employees, I call them my coworkers. I include my coworkers in that family as well. I think that being able to provide a life where people are happy and fulfilled and well sustained, and in moments, I think I told you we had a family emergency, a medical emergency in my family. And I've just been thinking about how incredibly blessed we are. And I don't like using the term lucky. And even though luck does have a portion that it plays into things, but we are really, really, really blessed because my family, Mike and I, MoveU has been so successful. And yeah, that definitely does mean money, right? But it means also being very um, financially savvy with your money. Again, not going back to Mike's previous Gucci stage where he grew his expenses in accordance with his profit, but being able to save some money for a rainy day so that you are not just completely out of luck if you find yourself in need. And yeah, just being able to experience life without worry, I think is pretty amazing. And I don't think that there is anything more that anybody could ask for than just to spend time with family and people that you love and doing things that you love.
Well, thank you for sharing your story and the MoveU story. And I get the sense that you are a fantastic fitness instructor, but you've also got a great business mind too, because you're the one making sure that, you're not in a Gucci phase. And you're looking,
Honestly,
I'm
though,
sure as a marketer, you're looking at the analytics to see,
yes,
it's data
yes.
driven and you're figuring out where is the business going to go next.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for listening and letting me share so much of that. And yeah, and let me be clear, I love the Gucci phase. Just, when we're not, you know, needing to save money and needing to pack it away for a rainy day. So not knocking the Gucci. Dr. Mike still wears his Gucci stuff from time to time and gets to live it every now and again. But I will definitely budget it out if that is something that is necessary. So yeah, I just want
Smart.
to say thank you. Yes, thanks. Yeah, I just want to say thank you. This is really fun.
Tell the Inspired Money viewers and listeners where to find Move You and where to follow you.
Yeah. Absolutely. So please follow MoveU, MoVE, the letter U. I'll never forget this. My dad one day he called me and he goes, Katie, how do I spell MoveU? I was like, oh my gosh. So we're going to be really clear. It's MoVE, the letter U. The U stands for university, actually. So MoveU on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook. And then you can also find us at www.moveu.com. And then finally, my personal Instagram is at yogi period ish. So YOGI period ish, because I'm still kind of into yoga. But as you just learned, I also do lots of other things like run businesses and such. And then Dr. Mike's is at MoveU Mike. So that's where you can find us. And yeah, you can always send me a DM. Anybody listening to this, I'm always happy to answer anybody's questions or comments. So thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. So what was your favorite inspired money moment? I like Katie's tips that range from being money transparent with your team to demonstrating a movement exercise. My favorite moment was the way Katie and Dr. Mike are intentionally planning to adapt their online business in the face of a recession. They're upping their technology and diversifying their revenue streams. If you had a different favorite inspired money moment, please post a comment or share it in the Inspired Moneymakers Facebook group at inspiredmoney.fm/Facebook. Thank you for tuning in to the end. Be sure to subscribe to my email that goes out every 2 weeks. It's written by the investment team at Runnymede Capital Management, where we highlight data, news, and events that we think are worth sharing. Subscribe at inspiredmoney.fm/newsletter. Thank you for joining me on this mission. Have an inspired week and do something that scares you, because that's where the magic happens.